Hi, I'm Tom Bianculli, the Chief Technology Officer here at Zebra Technologies, and I'm presenting to you today from within our Innovation Center in New York. Thanks for joining us. I've got the opportunity today to talk to you a little bit about our retail vision, strategy, and the associated investments that we're making. But before I do that, I want to thank you for your business in 2020, such an unusual year for all of us and in many different ways, and your continued partnership as we go into 2021. As we look at 2020, we didn't fundamentally see new trends take root, which might sound surprising. But what we did see is the trends that were already underway get greatly accelerated. And I think there's no better example of this than the chart you see on the left-hand side here. If you take a look at 2020, in just 12 weeks, we gained the same number of percentage points in e-commerce share as a percent of total retail sales as we did in the previous decade. And although this chart is specific to the UK, we saw the same in North America and very similar behavior across the globe. Well, guess what? This has also resulted in complexity in terms of fulfillment options and overall fulfillment capabilities. As you see the columns on the right, there's never been more modalities of being able to fulfill orders, from ordering itself and the way that customers engage with you either online, in the store, through mobile, to pick and pack, and the way that that gets done, the actual delivery itself, and then ultimately receipt or receiving by the customer. When you look at the permutations across each one of those categories, there's over 3,000 unique routes to the end consumer. And most of those routes actually come at a greater cost to retailers than they did before, because you have to bear more of the labor. So we really got to be thinking about how do we embrace digital transformation and technology to drive increased profitability while continuing to deliver on customer expectations. Just take a quick look at some of these consumer expectations. We've already spoken about buy online, but what that really means is with that rapid growth, we're seeing over 3,000 packages delivered every second, which is creating warehouse and trucking labor shortages. Faster shipping expectations, 90% of consumers expecting next day delivery, which creates a lot of pressure on last mile delivery. Over 40% of the cost in delivery now is being consumed by last mile. Convenient fulfillment options. So click and collect, pick up curbside. I think every retailer I've spoken to has accelerated their plans there by 2 or 3 years in terms of the way that they do that. And that's resulted in some inefficient in-store fulfillment because it was compressed into such a short time period. So we've got some work to do there, even though we've all risen to the occasion to deliver on these consumer expectations. And then access to a broad selection. It's not good enough to just get it there the next day. It also has to be whatever product I want. And that's resulted in a shortage of warehouse space, or said another way, the acceleration of automation within warehouses to enable the same throughput, even though there's more product that needs to be carried within that space. In fact, per sales dollar, e-commerce requires 3 times more real estate in terms of warehousing than non-e-commerce modalities. So as I mentioned, what got us here isn't going to get us there. We got to be thinking differently. Systems of record are, of course, extremely important. Your warehouse management system, your CRM system, your transportation management system, your various ERPs, but they're all looking in the rearview mirror. They're all plans. They're not the reality of what's occurring within the environments in which you operate. Systems of reality, on the other hand, live at the edge. They're looking at the visibility literally on the shelf or on the rack. They're looking at where the fork truck is located in the cross-dock facility and how it can be routed for optimal utilization of that capital asset. So moving towards systems of reality that can give you real-time visibility and leverage analytics and software to deliver actions that your frontline workers can take to consistently deliver to your customers and drive your operations is how we need to be thinking. And we're really excited that we've had the opportunity to already partner with a number of you across Europe in doing this and embarking on this journey. So thank you, and we look forward to expanding that circle to even more customers. This really hits on the heart of our vision of enterprise asset intelligence. That is when every asset and worker on the edge is visible, connected, and optimally utilized. The visible and connected part is something that we've been doing for a very long time, over 5 decades. You think about RFID, mobile computing, scanning, printing, on-demand printing. All of those are capabilities that give us visibility, connectivity, and mobility. And we're fortunate enough, by working with retailers such as yourselves, to have number one market share position in each one of those categories. But you know what? It's not enough. We need to use all of that visibility, mobility, and connectivity to deliver optimal utilization of your people and of your capital assets. That's why we realized we needed to make some inorganic investments to complement the organic ones we already had underway. We acquired Reflexis in September of this past year, which adds workforce management, time and attendance, and task management to our SaaS software offerings. And we had already acquired Profitect in the middle of 2019, which we now call Zebra Prescriptive Analytics. This is using AI and ML to look for anomalies in the data that we can collect from your point of sale systems or your other source systems, clustering in that data or anomalies in that data that we can pull out as needles in the haystack that can be mobilized as actions to get the job done. I'll talk a little bit more about some examples there in a bit. Of course, you may already be familiar with our organic solutions around Zebra Workforce Connect and Zebra Smart Count. We'll talk a little bit more about each of these as we go along, but I really wanted to point out that we've made substantial organic investment here, but we've also deployed $750 million in capital in acquisitions and in venture investments to go realize this optimal utilization of the visibility, mobility, and connectivity platform we were already pretty well known for at Zebra. So the evolution of retail, big topic. I just wanted to cover off on a couple of points that I think are worthwhile to keep in the back of our heads as we kind of unpack the strategy, vision, and investments here. One is the tolerance for inefficiencies at an all-time low. I mean, I've already spoken about this. All of the fulfillment modalities, the onslaught of e-commerce, curbside pickup, there's just no room really anymore for inefficiency. It used to be there was some room for it. You dealt with it. You got marginally better or incrementally better over time. We really need a step function in reducing inefficiency. And primarily, I mean, I'm pointing to labor inefficiency and inventory inefficiency, because those are most likely your two biggest expenses. Labor is probably your largest operating expense, and inventory your largest capital expense. The second I wanted to highlight is the new labor force. So millennials, digital natives entering the workforce en masse have challenged the expectations that we provide them from a technology point of view. They're expecting assistive technology where the computing and the interface kind of gets out of the way, and the information they need is magically surfaced to them for them to be able to get their job done. They expect to be empowered with tools that allow employee self-service, things like shift swapping. Why do they have to run up and down a hierarchy of management to swap a shift with a peer of theirs when they feel like they should be able to do it through the click of a button inside of an application? And in fact, we can enable that and do enable that with our Reflexis offering today. And then managing inventory. I mentioned this already as the largest capital expense. As stores are being used increasingly as fulfillment centers, it's really required that those stores have the same level of accuracy from an inventory point of view as a warehouse does, even though the store environment is filled with many more stochastics, right? Shrink, misplacement of items, planogram and incompliance, promotions that are deployed at the incorrect time or deployed in parallel with product being offered elsewhere in the store. So lots that can go wrong, but the market's not forgiving in the way that we're currently operating, and it demands a accuracy that's consistent with the warehouse. And so we're deploying a lot of these SaaS solutions to realize the sorts of benefits you see on the right side: recovering lost sales, wasted labor costs, recapturing payroll, lower turnover. In fact, all of the examples on the right-hand side are real data points from deployed customers of the Reflexis and the Zebra Prescriptive Analytics platform over the last few years. In fact, both of those platforms, or I should say across both of those platforms, we've deployed to over 275 customers worldwide. So this is real, it's here, and we bootstrapped ourselves into this workflow execution optimization through the capital expenditures and investments that I mentioned earlier. I did want to point out another key element of what we're driving here. It's not just about optimizing the workflow of an individual worker, where we can take data from the environment, analyze it, push the right action to that worker. It's also about closing the loop you see on the bottom, that learning loop that makes the system smarter. Because with our mobile computers and this software running on those devices, we can measure the efficacy of that task execution. How well were those tasks executed? Feed that back in to our machine learning capabilities and create a better labor plan or a better inventory plan going forward. So creating a virtuous cycle between planning and execution, linking those two together, and then running that cycle faster and faster. I would say we're at about a daily loop, meaning at many of our customers that we've deployed these solutions at, we're ingesting, as an example, point of sale data on a daily basis. We've been public about our engagement with the Home Depot, as an example, in the United States, where we ingest every point of sale transaction across every Home Depot every day. We use that data to mobilize actions based on insights we see in that, maybe the velocity of certain SKUs and how they're moving. That requires checking if certain inventory is correct, either in the back or in the front of the store. Then we can measure how well those actions are delivered and how long it takes to complete those actions and feed that back into a labor plan for the next day. So we're doing that on about a daily rep rate right now, but I think we're going to see that pretty quickly go to hourly and then ultimately minute by minute. So as the day's moving on, you're actually constantly deploying what the best next action is for each of your staff to be executing. And how does this work? How can we help? Well, these are 3 examples that we've deployed across many of the retailers we serve today with these solutions. One around on-shelf availability, being able to look at that point of sale data I mentioned earlier, identify which store locations are showing anomalies relative to certain SKUs and their sell-through velocity. If you know that a good's been shipped to a store, but the rate at which that good is selling is fundamentally different than like stores in the region, then you can identify that as a troubled SKU. Maybe it's not located in the right place in the store. Maybe as the second item talks about promotional execution, the promotion for that item was never deployed, therefore the sales uplift never occurred. Maybe there's a shrink event going on. So we can analyze all of this data to unlock those anomalies and then mobilize the right tasks in the store to take action. So let's back up here for a second. Hopefully this is exciting and you're feeling the energy as much as I am, and talk a little bit about our 3 key pillars with regard to our retail strategic investments. The first is around building a smarter operation. It's about optimizing that labor and that OpEx in your 4 walls of your stores. The second is around optimizing inventory, or that largest capital expense, being able to monitor what's happening, look at the plan and the demand forecast, and again, just like I spoke about in the labor equation, close that loop between the inventory plan and the actual execution of that inventory plan to realize on-shelf availability. The third is around elevating the customer experience. And it's third for a reason, not because the customer is not most important. Nobody's more customer-centric than Zebra. It's third on this chart because if we get the first 2 right of enabling your associates to be the best they can be, shoulder to shoulder with your customers, and enabling you to optimize inventory so the right product is in the right place at the right time, that goes a very long way in elevating the customer experience. But we're also adding other capabilities I'll cover around making the checkout experience more seamless, reducing the friction, and making our way towards frictionless checkout. So looking at the first pillar of building a smarter operation, I mentioned our acquisition of Reflexis, which allows for workflow optimization, the time and attendance capability, workforce labor planning, and we're deployed there, as I said, across a couple of hundred different customers. Zebra Prescriptive Analytics, being able to detect those anomalies in the data and then mobilize the right action to the right person. But here's the cool thing. Zebra Prescriptive Analytics is generating those smart tasks that can be mobilized, but Reflexis has #1 market share position in task management for retail. So I think you could probably connect the dots. We're going to be linking together the smart tasks and prescriptive actions from ZPA into the Reflexis task management system, and then creating this end-to-end planning to execution capability within the store. But that's not enough, because you also need your staff to be able to seamlessly communicate with each other, whether that's across aisles or to the back of the store or across stores or even out to a distribution center. Seamless, quick, push-to-talk, full voice telephony, PBX integration, text messaging. That's what Zebra Workforce Connect delivers, and we're seeing increased traction of that solution in the market. Right now, we're talking about each of these as 3 independent sleeves because that's how we sell them and where we are in our journey. But where we're going to take this, starting actually in Q1, is launching a new user interface for the Reflexis task management system called the My Work application. So it's a single pane of user interface, user experience that's tile-based, as you see on the left-hand side of this slide. And from each one of those tiles, you can access all this different functionality in a unified way. So by clicking on tasking and execution, you'll be able to get your standard Reflexis type store tasks, but you'll also be able to, if you're a subscriber to ZPA, you'll be able to get your prescriptive smart tasks from the ZPA anomaly detection and predictive analytics or prescriptive analytics I mentioned earlier. They'll also link in the employee self-service capabilities I mentioned as well, where your staff can be empowered to swap shifts, to look at what their schedule looks like over the coming week, to be able to share pointers with their peers within the environment and get better at what they do. Other capabilities, which will be really fun to talk about in the near future, are gamification. So being able to sort of gamify the whole workflow and tasking experience. Additionally, as you see in the green circles on the top, you'll have access to workforce communications, which will integrate Workforce Connect for those of you that also deploy the Workforce Connect solution. But we're also going to integrate all of the data sources that I mentioned earlier, point of sale, data sources, the inventory, transportation data sources, so we can surface those insights through those green circles you saw in the previous chart. Okay, let's take a look at the second pillar, inventory accuracy. Has it ever been more important? I don't think so. I mean, it's been a key driver of a lot of investments that you've all been making, but man, now more than ever is it critical. And the amazing part about it is it hasn't really gotten a lot better over, if I look back 3-4 years, 65% inventory accuracy has kind of been the norm within a retail store environment. And in 2020 launched a number of initiatives that helped to start to move the needle on that. But we really know that we got to take it to the next level. We got to get to the level of accuracy we have in the warehouse. Additionally, about 1/3 of the time, store associates don't even know if they have an item in stock. So inventory performance is really critical. This is where we also want to bring the sense, analyze, and act framework of Zebra together with these other investments in Zebra Prescriptive Analytics and Reflexis. So we're delivering RFID capability in something we call Smart Lens, that in an apparel retailer can perpetually see the inventory on the shelf or on the rack. Zebra Smart Count is an as-a-service inventory counting capability that we offer. Zebra Smart Sight is our robot that we launched in 2019 that can autonomously roam the store and see if there's gaps or non-compliance on the shelf. Focal Systems is a venture investment in a startup company that makes shelf edge cameras for being able to look across the aisle and detect what's on the shelf. Our MP7000 checkout scanner is becoming more intelligent with computer vision capability. And then traditional RFID to complement our Smart Lens offering is also available and being used by a number of retailers in mobile form factors. So we can bring all of that sensor data in to prescriptive analytics, along with the blue oval you see there. That is your source system data, like inventory data, supply chain data, point of sale. Surface the intelligent actions that need to be taken as a result of that, and then deploy that via Reflexis task management to the Zebra device. So Zebra inventory performance isn't off on its own. It's about leveraging all these other capabilities we have already released as solutions on the left, and then pairing them together with these software investments around Zebra Prescriptive Analytics and Reflexis tasking capability. Lastly, I wanted to mention elevating the customer experience. I mentioned already that inventory accuracy and store associate performance go a very long way, but we really feel taking it to the next level will require us reducing the amount of friction in the checkout experience, adding things like computer vision to our MP7000 reader, where we can not just read the barcode of the product being passed over the MP7000, but we can also use computer vision to recognize that product, reducing shrink and enhancing the customer checkout experience by streamlining that checkout time frame, essentially for the customer. Point of sale and mobile payment, other big investments for us, where we're looking to allow payment to be able to occur anywhere in the store. So think about sleds, docks, working with the likes of Ingenico and Verifone to make a very ergonomic, simple attachment to the mobile computer. Again, this is next level kind of capability. Think about very thin, attaches to the device, connects over Bluetooth, and then using some of the latest payment SPOC standards, we can actually enable chip on glass. So the consumer can enter their chip information, their PIN code information, actually on the glass of the mobile computer in a way that meets all of the security requirements. Personal shopper, lots of uptake in Europe and the UK especially. So if you're not checking that out, that's another way of reducing the friction in the checkout experience and a digital touchless economy becoming more and more important. Curbside pickup, think about scheduling, think about tendering the transaction at the curbside, being able to be alerted that a curbside pickup has just arrived, using all of the mobility and our software capabilities to be able to plan and execute for that. So this is really exciting time here at Zebra. It's an unusual time across the industry for sure. I also want to emphasize, in addition to me thanking you for your business early on, let you know that Zebra is here for you, our customers. If you need something, please reach out to your account manager, reach out to us. The executive team is ready to help and to jump into action where we can. And as I mentioned earlier, we've already done that with a number of you and have been privileged to do so. So if you're thinking about smarter operations and improving the productivity of your store staff, if you're thinking about how do you better optimize your inventory or how you elevate the customer experience, think Zebra, give us a call, and we're here to help and deliver on this journey together. Thanks for taking the time out. Enjoy the rest of the session, and I hope to work with all of you sometime soon. Take care.